Hi there, folks. We're certainly glad you found us. We're devoted to college baseball. We're here each and every week, this unique show. My name is Darren Sutton, and this is Perfect Game College Baseball, and a special guest host this week, a man who, chasing 1,000 wins, more than 800 victories, and has coached at the mid-major level. We'll get there. There's a reason why I'm looking forward to his insights, but took Indiana to the College World Series. Did amazing things at ASU. You see Spencer Torkelson, by the way, playing first base. That's his guy. My co-host today is Tracy Smith. And Tracy, thanks for spending time with us. We really, really appreciate it. We got to you last minute. Hunter Pence needed a pinch hitter. What a great pinch hitter you are. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you ever asked me to be pinch hitting for Hunter Pence, I would have said you're crazy. So, no, I appreciate the opportunity. You said we're going to get on here and talk college baseball and even the mid-major level. How was I supposed to say no to that? So thanks for having me on.
Let's go there first, because you took Miami of Ohio twice to the regional level. And at the mid-majors, that's saying something. Most leagues are one-bid leagues, and WCC is our focus. We're going to focus ahead of the WCC tournament. USD will be representative. Brock Ungricht will join us, and Gonzaga will be representative. Mark Machtolf will be here as well. But you did it at the mid-major level. How challenging is it to get your team to postseason at that mid-major level?
Well, I can tell you, yes, I certainly have an appreciation for the mindset of these coaches and players this week because, a lot of times in a mid-major, it comes down to playing well that weekend. And it's a challenge to stay locked in and not put the pressure on yourself because and you've been around this, sometimes it's not the best team. It's who's playing the best at the time. And if you're a one-bid league, that kind of heightens the pressure a little bit. So I'm always curious in talking to coaches like that. How do you keep that fine line of not getting your guys too up, but also realizing, hey, the year's not over. We've got some work to do because it's not a given whether we get in the NCAA tournament. So it's a tough position to be in. I feel for them, but you know what? I bet the guys that we're talking about today, they're not going to back down from that challenge.
Yeah, it's a good conference, and it's interesting. You get a team like even at Grand Canyon in our neck of the woods in Phoenix, and that may be a place they'd like to play their way into that conference. We'll see how that goes for them. So your team in 13, Indiana, your IU team that you took to the World Series. Many years have gone by now, and as you reflect upon that team, what were the key components as we head into postseason for that team? I mean, aside from good players, and you had a bunch of them, Mr. Schwarber is one of them certainly, but as you look at some of the key components, why did that team play so well? Why did they go to Omaha?
Well, I mean, it does start with talent. There's some pretty talented players on there, and we had a few guys make it to the big leagues off that team. But you're right; it isn't just talent. It's the blend of personalities in the locker room. And you reference Kyle Schwarber, and every every notch that he's gone in his career, and he changes teams, I'll get a call from someone within the new organization doing their due diligence, and I'll say, hey, that dude's going to make your team better just by being in the locker room. So I think back to that Indiana team, how close those guys were. And now as we get older and you got the gray, I don't have the hair, but a little bit gray, now going to the weddings of these guys and seeing them as become men and raising their own families, you can see how close they still are. They still do. My son was on that team, so I still have an inside look at the closeness of that particular era, the 2013 team. They're still close, so I'm assuming they were super close when they played. But it was the locker room. Those guys were talented, but they were a very, very close-knit unit, and still
Before we get started, the trust they have with one another. I love when you coaches talk about that. You can't fake it. You can't force it. You got to recruit it. Obviously, I'm guessing that's why character matters, the recruiting. And boy, at ASU, the one thing calling so many of your games on television, I remember, was the recruiting that you and your staff were able to do. And obviously, the headline name is Spencer Torkelson. But 2020, you had so many talented players going on to professional baseball, gifted infielders, gifted players, and I think about all that, and I think about what's next for you. I think about the successes you've had, National Coach of the Year, taking mid majors to the postseason, and the great job you did at ASU and leaving the cupboard full. What's next for you? Since I have you here, I got to ask you.
Yeah, I kind of subscribe to the same theory that I tell my players: keep both feet in today. And what I'm doing now is I'm involved with the Diamond Allegiance, which is it's awesome. I was actually serving on the advisory board for the last 2 years at Arizona State, and what I like about it is it's in the travel ball space, and with Perfect Game and just the industry and being able to give back. I've coached. I've been a head coach since I'm 30 years old. When you're head coaching in college Division I, you've got a roster of 35 kids. And I just feel like for me at this stage of my career, this is a nice opportunity to get back to more than just 35 kids, get back to the industry and the sport of baseball, something that has been very good to me. I get asked all the time, are you going to coach again? I'm like, I don't know. That's not up to me. It's if the right situation presented itself, sure. I mean, I feel like I've got a lot to offer. I was disappointed a little bit how the ending at Arizona State, but you know what? Those things happen. Life's not fair. But I'm excited to wake up every day and do the job with the Diamond Allegiance, and we'll worry about other things if they come. But that's honestly not my focus at this point.
Yeah, you're a coach though. I mean, in a really, really good one. And we are excited the work you're doing with Diamond Allegiance, and they're lucky to have you. But I'm excited to see where you feel is the right fit, because I know there's going to be a lot of opportunities. And yes, I know about surprise endings as well. I mean, that's we all grow a little bit better. I'm excited to talk about USD. I'm excited to talk about Gonzaga. Thanks for being our co-host on this show.
Well, I really appreciate it. This was a lot. This is fun. I'm excited to be a part. And anytime we get to talk to you and hang out with you, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. He's so nice to me. He's very, very nice. Let's get to our coaches, because these are the guys. See how relaxed we are? The two gentlemen that we're having on are right in the middle of the gauntlet, of the pressure, of the postseason. They want to get two teams out of the WCC. We'll talk WCC, preview the tournament when we come back. Tracy Smith, Darren Sutton. This is Perfect Game College Baseball on Perfect Game TV. We welcome you back to Perfect Game College Baseball on Perfect Game TV alongside my co-host Tracy Smith. And let's go to Spokane. And when we say we're going home to Spokane for their head coach, Mark Machtolf, nothing has ever been more true. There are so many of us that are journey people around the country in our jobs and professions as coaches and broadcasters. But Mark's been home for a long time, 3 decades in Spokane with the Gonzaga program that is very, very strong again this year. We're previewing the WCC, 27th in the RPI. And thank you, Mark, for spending time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So it is home. I mean, it really, really is home. What does it mean, even when you hear that intro from those of us that are getting to know you and understanding how much you have given, not only to the program, but to the community. And Spokane really is home. Brag on your region just a bit.
Well, yeah, I always say that I have the best job in the country. I get to coach Division I baseball in my hometown, and not many people have that opportunity. And I love Spokane, and I've always loved Gonzaga, and they treat me well and have taken care of me, and baseball is really important to them, so we're trying to get to new heights, and so I wouldn't trade my job for anyone.
Well, so I'll tell you, well, first of all, Mark, it's good to see you on the screen here. I'll tell you what's impressed me, and just doing a little digging here before, in college baseball, everyone's complaining about how the pitching, is thin, and doesn't seem to be thin on your roster. So how'd you build that out? And I'll take good pitching any day over good hitting. So curious about that.
No, it's just, we had just a couple guys have just really, really developed. Certainly my assistants have played a huge part of that in the recruiting, and how sometimes that works where you have certain years where guys just develop, and we've had that happen in that junior class where 4 guys, none of them were drafted out of high school, but they've developed and just continue to get better, and have pretty much led the way. Our offense is still a work in progress, but I think we've really improved. But we've been steady on defense, and the pitching has been dominant at times, and that is usually a good equation.
Well, the Hughes, it's like see an ERA under 3 in college baseball. I'm curious. I haven't had the good fortune of seeing him deal yet. But what makes him? What I'm just curious. What makes him so special? And I apologize, I'm digging in on this pitching, but I just haven't seen good pitching in a while. So I'm curious here.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. One is he's a big, strong kid, and all these juniors right now, they continue to get better with every outing. They had most of them with freshmen. They just didn't pitch much, or they had the COVID year, and so as they get out there more, they just really improve. And he's a really competitive kid, really big, strong kid. He can throw three pitches for strikes. He can get right and left-handed hitters out. His changeup is a work in progress, but it can be dominant at times, and the velocity just continues to climb. So, yeah, he seems to be just hitting his stride right now.
Speaking of hitting strides, you get William Kempner back, and Loyola Marymount, Santa Clara, and then this past weekend USD. Mr. Kempner hasn't given up a run yet. Why don't you introduce William to us and who he is, certainly. And he's interesting because he was one of those COVID freshmen that was in there, had a 7 ERA. You couldn't really get him going, right, because it's shut down. Now here he is. How proud are you of him?
Oh yeah, just like Gabe. He's continued to get better every time he goes out there. He's got a different arm slot. He's actually hit 100 miles per hour, and then on versus San Diego, he's 94 to 99. Um, it's electric stuff, and he's just continuing to work on his command. That has was the issue early in his career, but um, again, as he gets out there more and more, he's getting better with that, and he's been really good for us the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then the other one just to round out, and Trace took us in the right place, to talk about pitching. When you pitch to a sub-14 ERA is Tristan Vierling, just a sophomore. As a matter of fact, we're talking about a bunch of sophomores here. The last three young athletes are sophomores. What jumped to me, Skip, were the strikeouts. I mean, it's a bunch of strikeouts, right? I mean, misses a lot of bats. So how does he do it? How does Tristan do it?
He's got a dominating slider, and he gets for whatever reason. I mean, the velocity is very good, but it's not any better than some of those other guys. But he gets a lot of swing throughs with his fastball, so hitters don't see it for whatever reason. And yeah, and it's a good problem to have the strikeouts, and the one thing we worry about is just pitch count, because we know that it's going to be 5, 6, maybe 7 innings, and then you're going to have to bridge the gap, because there are so many strikeouts, and it seems like they go deep in the count, and not a lot of early contact off guys like that. So that's a good problem. I'm not complaining, but that's what we are, and we have some guys in the bullpen that have really done a good job for us.
Do you, as you transition and we get into the postseason part of this, I mean, is it obviously an awesome regular season? Do you do much? I'm just curious, as coach to coach, or I should say former coach to coach. Is there a difference in the mindset of how you're going to prepare as we get ready for the postseason stuff? Anything different?
Not really. What we do is, our first goal is always to win the league, but we have bigger goals than that, and it's kind of nice to just we had, because we played a doubleheader Saturday, we had pretty much Sunday as an early travel day, but kind of a day off. And so I just told them, get away from baseball and maybe enjoy your success for a couple hours, and then turn the page and let's get started preparing on trying to win this tournament and possibly hosting a regional and recharge. And so we'll just have a good practice today, have a travel day tomorrow, and then another good practice on Wednesday, and hopefully continue to play well.
Did you see how easy that was, Darren? He said, let's win a league, check, and let's move on to the next. If it were only all that easy, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, coach, it's not that easy. And when you have young catchers or young pitchers, you have a guy like Tyler Rando. I'm guessing you're going to tell me he's pretty important. Now, the hitting is an incredible bonus. His offense has been a big part of your team, but kind of bring Tyler to us. Introduce his importance as a receiver and also as a hitter.
Yeah, he's been really hot the last 3 weeks, which was crucial for us. He seems to be hitting a stride, and he and Ezra Samperi actually kind of split the catching, and Ezra has done a great job. And but yet Tyler throughout the year has done a really good job of handling those arms. And we always say the old adage, hard to hit, hard to catch. And so those guys are hard to hit, so they're hard to catch too. And you got 98 coming at you, and they miss their location or they bury their breaking ball. And those two guys have really done a good job of blocking. We haven't thrown a lot of runners out, but that's mainly because you don't want to sacrifice velocity for break time on the mound when when you have that dominating stuff. And so um, a lot of the stuff as far as throwing runners out haven't been there, but the blocking and the receiving has been just really outstanding.
I just want to ask you because in the perfect game world, we get to see the guys you recruit. We get to see high school and then JUCO guys, and I can remember Xavier Pinales, if I'm saying it properly. I think I'm close. Milwaukee kid from Wabash. I mean, what an amazing program. They're always playing up in
Yeah.
Colorado in the meaningful games. So tell me a little bit about who he is as a player. I see speed impacting the game, but I also see an athlete that's done a lot of things for you. How has Xavier fit in?
Yeah, he's a guy that we recruited him as a shortstop, and he can play short, but he's kind of settled in for us because Connor Cabales has played so well at shortstop. He's kind of got in there, Xavier, as a second baseman, and has done a great job defensively. He started off hitting in an 8-9 hole, and now he's hitting in a 2 hole. So we've moved him up because he's done a great job. He's striking out less and walking more, getting on base because that's really leads him to his best tool is his running ability, and he's got a knack for stealing bases. And probably should have ran him more, but we're learning a little bit about what he's capable of doing. In the last month, he has ran a lot more and stolen some bases, and just been kind of that spark plug at the top of your order.
What I love, and this is more private, general, because I look at kind of even our situations, coaching up there in the cold weather. I was actually Googling the weather as we were talking here, and it's a little chilly up there.
Mhm.
And the fact that you've been in, like you say, your home turf. What's the secret sauce? Because do you use that as an advantage in terms of the elements that you got to overcome? Because the sport of baseball, I think it's supposed to be played in warm weather, but I've always been impressed, honestly, with how good you guys are year in and year out, and with one of the Mother Nature working against you a little bit. So I always love hearing other coaches that have lived
Yeah, you've lived it in Indiana, and I know
that.
that. Uh, what it is it's just Gonzaga. We're able to recruit good players because of the Gonzaga brand name, and then of our some success that we've had. Kids want to play in big games, and so we always say to them, and when we're recruiting them, is that if you talk about the academics, you talk about the community, you talk about the baseball program and winning and losing, the weather should be far down that list. And if it
Hmm.
isn't, then you're not our guy. And we've been able to recruit some guys that they don't freak out on the weather. And then if you get good players, you can turn that weather to an advantage because you have to go on the road and play. And
Yeah,
when you go on the road and you play really good people with really good players, you get rewarded for winning games on the road in your RPI. And so
yeah,
that's kind of worked in our favor. So we turn that around a little bit and use it as an advantage for us in the
yeah.
RPI because we get out of the West and where everybody kind of cannibalizes themselves with the RPI, and it has helped us.
That's an interesting. You touched on that about the cannibalization of the RPI, and you mentioned earlier about potentially hosting. Where do you see, and Darren, you could even chime in, like I mean, how close, or what do you think you got to do to maybe move in that consideration?
I think we're on the bubble. I think if we play well in this tournament here, coming up the West Coast Conference, and at least get to the championship game, and which is certainly not a given, I think we will be in strong consideration. And I don't know who decides that or what have you, but when you go through a conference schedule and you win every one of your series, and there's not a lot of teams that can say that. I don't think.
That's right.
I've never been on a team that has done that. Um, so I think that puts us at least in the conversation.
Yeah, and you've also played on a team that won the World Series, so that's how tough it is to do that, even on that team back in '87. Hey, listen, Trace and I really appreciate your time. Best of luck. We're kind of honored to land with the WCC this week on the show. Best of luck to you.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed talking with you guys.
Good luck.
Thanks, Tracy.
Mark Machtolf, the head coach of Gonzaga. The USD is the other team that's right at the top of the penthouse in that WCC conference. We'll get to know their head coach when we come back on Perfect Game, College Baseball. This is Perfect Game TV. All year long, it's been Gonzaga and USD, San Diego at the very top of the WCC. So we're not doing a good preview show if we don't go to San Diego from Spokane. And who doesn't like to go to San Diego? As a Perfect Game guy, we were there all the time. I mean, you know that. And Brock Ungricht joins us, the head coach at San Diego. They had an incredible year, 17 games within the WCC, 32 wins. And they played balanced. They played great away from home. They played great at home as well. And Brock spends time with us now. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate being on the show and love everything that Perfect Game does. And like you said, I mean, hey, we always have all the Perfect Game events here at beautiful Fowler Park. So awesome to be on here with you and Coach Smith.
The one thing I didn't get to with Mark, and I'll get to right out of the gates with you, then I want to dive in, I know Tracy will too, on your team and your players, is brag on the WCC just a little bit. I mean, we see you guys in the two top spots, but we understand the depth of a lot of good educational schools, a lot of faith-based schools. It's kind of an envy to get your school into that conference. You know, I look at a team like GCU, quite frankly, they're probably thinking, I wonder if we could be in your conference. But kind of brag on the conference overall, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year speaks volumes. We just played Gonzaga this last weekend, and Coach Machtolf and I had a really good chat for a while all weekend about just how the depth of the conference is. You know, I think there's 8 teams fighting for those 6 spots in the conference tournament, which we did move that up from 4 to 6 this year, which has been a huge benefit. And I think it just shows, you know, early on, I think, you know, at least they keep saying it, that we could get 2 teams for the regionals this year. And I think that goes to say, like, you know, the pitching is very, very strong all the way through. You know, I don't care if you have a Friday guy, it's a 6th place team, or a Saturday guy and the 7th place team. They're all really good, and they can beat you at any time. And the parity and the depth, I think, has really shined through this year, specifically in our conference.
And you know, and I don't want to drag you into a question that will get you in trouble. But having done the mid, you know, I would always say like a mid-major back in the day. You guys are good, and of course played against you guys numerous times. And coming from the Midwest for me, coming out here and seeing the quality of the opponents that you would play, you know, and we would lock horns with you guys. Does that frustrate you? Because you said that about we hope to be a 2-bid league this year,
Right,
when that should almost be a given. Do you not feel that?
Yeah, you definitely feel that, you know, but you know, you also know how it works, and you gotta win at the right time, and you gotta prove it, you know, and I think, you know, last year we were right on the cusp of getting in. We didn't have the conference tournament. We went 33-12 or whatever it was last year. So you know, I think it's one of those things that you just got to get in and you got to prove it. And the word "should" is so hard for me, Coach, as you know too, because God, we should win this game, right? This guy should get 3 hits or drive him in or whatever the case may be. So yes, I do feel that way, and I'm hoping for the best here coming up in this next week.
Me too. I mean, that's it. Yeah, it's like when you put together that year, you want to be rewarded for it and keep that going. But you're right. You got to prove it.
Right. Absolutely.
Let me ask you about one of your men out of your pen. I'm going to jump right to your pen, if you don't mind, because there's 2 guys that are intriguing to me. One of them I happen to have watched when he was a baby. I mean, a real baby, with the Central Florida Gators, like Nolan Gorman and Matthew Liberatore were on that team. Kind of fun to know that a guy from AZ, and I'm biased there, Red Mountain High School, Connor Thurman, and it's not just what Connor is doing for you late in games, pitching key innings. It's the amount of bats he's missed. It's kind of laughable, the amount of strikeouts. So tell me a little bit about Connor and his impact.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty cool story, I thought. You know, I recruited him when I was at Stanford, when he was in high school. So I got to see him and Nolan Gorman and Liberatore and try to recruit all those guys. And then Connor ended up picking to go to U of A. And then we had that relationship, and things didn't work out at U of A. So right when he went in the portal, contacted him and obviously picked up right where we left off. And we were able to get him here, and Coach Flora went and saw him and loved him, and it's been a kind of a cool story, and he's really kind of made his mark on this program with his personality and his character and the attitude and whatnot, and he's kind of one of those guys that knows who he is. We talk about that in our program a lot. From on both sides of the ball, being a hitter or a pitcher, you got to really know who you are and not try to be somebody you're not. And the swing and miss is from the slider. He's a slider guy. You can start it at your hip, and it's tough. Right on right is very tough. Even our guys, we have some pretty good right-handed hitters. They're like, they give up on the pitch because it feels like it's actually going behind them. And then it actually, goes across the plate, which is crazy. So he's had a hell of a year for us.
The other one is Ryan Robinson. Obviously, similar type of year he's had for you. I mean, I'm guessing it's an automatic as long as they're healthy and ready to go. That these are key guys for you. Now, this is again a unique journey. 2-time JUCO All-American, but TGA was on his resume as well. Kind of introduce us to Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Robinson, talk about unbelievable person, a human being, leader, tough, competitor, bulldog on the mound. Very similar to Thurman. He's a sinker, slider guy. He's developed. Coach Floor's done a great job getting him to develop a changeup. So he was more, like, hey, we're bringing him in to face right-handers, and now he's able to face lefties as well. I think he's had a 1.4 ERA in conference. For us. The cool story about him on the weekend was we had to play a doubleheader on Saturday because of finals. And yesterday we weren't able to play. So he throws Friday in relief for a couple hitters, comes back Saturday, throws in the first game, and after the first game's over, Coach Smith, you would love this because he comes to me and says, I'm hot for I'm hot. I'm coming in game 3. You put me in the game. I want to win the game.
Yes, sir.
And right, absolutely. I'm not fighting on that one. So it shows a little bit of the testament for him, to this program, and for his brothers, and the will to win. Just couldn't say enough about him.
I want to ask you about a different player, different reason. A friend of mine, Tim Vasquez, over here in the Valley. And I can remember when Cam was going through the recruiting process, and whatever. And you know how it is. Sometimes it's not that it's not a good play. You just don't have room, or things don't work out on the roster. And I can remember picking up the phone and calling Rich and introducing. Well, then as I'm Facebook friends with his father and posting all of these diving catches and game-winning hits, so it would torture me. So tell me a little bit about Cam, just my curiosity, and how's he doing for you over there?
It's awesome. He's just having an awesome year. And it goes back to, you go through your trials and tribulations over a 4-year period. And, excuse me, he's a 4-year guy. And, before the season started in the fall, we had a lengthy conversation about just having fun. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the ride, if you know what I mean, yeah. As a senior. And he's not a senior, but, basically academically he's a senior. And I think he's had that mindset the whole way through. He shows up every day, and he's got a great attitude. He's got a great personality. They all want to win. He wants to win more than anyone, but he's having fun with it. He's not taking it too seriously. And that's how I think it's shown on the field. He's always been a great defender, but the year he's having with the bat, and he's had some big time hits for us. I think it boils down to
I've seen him. I've seen him. I've seen him. And do we work any post game meals out of the deal? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, of course. Tim always takes care of us. Absolutely. So we were over in Grand Canyon earlier in the year for a 3-game series, and took great care of us, like he always does.
Yeah, great.
That's awesome.
That's incredible stuff, talking about Cam Vasquez and the year he's had, a 417 on base. I kind of have a personal thing, too, because I loved getting to know Kevin Sim as a PG All-American. And then he chose your program, certainly. The academic part, the family, the dad and his rich history playing professional baseball in his native land, his mom, just kind of his passion for the game, and just the brains. I mean, he's a smart, passionate kid. But he's now yours, and he's home at 11 times. He's kind of coming of age as a player, becoming a man, if you will, in college baseball.
Yeah, 100%, Darren. I mean, Simi's just done an unbelievable job. I think, on that the All-American circuit, he was obviously known for the raw power. The raw power was through the roof, right?
I like that.
The question,
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the question was, hey, can this guy, can he figure out how to hit? And he's been, I mean, just been so impressive for me as a coach. As you know, Coach Smith too, is like you want to have both, right? Yeah, the power is awesome, but you also want to be able to hit the ball to all fields and not strike out and have tough ABs, and that is something that he's really solidified himself this year. I mean, he's done an unbelievable job with his approach. Plate discipline has been through the roof. This last weekend we got tested big time, but that pitching staff from Gonzaga is unreal. And he got tested and they got the better end of the deal. But all year, the guys handled every best arm from Oregon to Dallas Baptist to Grand Canyon. And like you said, the homers are so impressive. But what I think is impressive is his approach at the plate of not chasing. His discipline has been super impressive, and that's why he's having the year he's having, in my opinion.
So it's interesting. There once was a time, and I mean this so respectful to Fullerton and Long Beach because I'm a SoCal kid, but there once was a time where the mid-majors were Fullerton and Long Beach, and they were the ones. I love the fact that I would love to get you, Coach Hefner, Coach Stankiewicz, and Coach Machtolf in the room and ask the simple question. How does one build a sustainingly successful mid-major program? What would your answer be? Besides, wait. Besides having San Diego on your side, besides that, outside of that, right? Outside of that, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's cool that you play. It's so cool that you schedule with Heath and Andy because those are kind of 4 programs that everyone's looking at. Like, wow, how are they doing it? What would you tell us?
Yeah, I think it goes back to like you said, scheduling is big. You look at what Coach Machtolf has done. He's not afraid. He goes on the road for the first 3 weeks of the year. They have to because of the weather. So they do that, and I think it challenges his guys. And I think it also did. And Coach Smith, you can, I want to pick your brain on it, but I think it also shows your team like, hey, there's a sense of reality and not biting off more than you can chew too, maybe, but also shows your team that we're not scared to play the best,
Yep.
and when you can bring in but with those 2 guys you're talking about, I mean, you're talking about Coach Hefner, who you got all the respect in the world, at least I do, for running the program that he's run for 15 years or whatever it is now. And then Coach Machtolf too, as well. They have that longevity. Coach Stankiewicz, who's been around a long time, and everybody has a ton of respect for all those guys and what they've done in their program. So to try to schedule teams like that, and then you look at, hey, they've had longevity success. I think all 3 of those programs. So that's, for me as a new coach, a young coach, I'm trying to strive for that and to keep trying to schedule good programs like that. Are going to be coached well and have good players and be at the top of their conference every year.
It's funny. Yeah, you kind of. I was going to ask the question. You kind of touched on it there a little bit about. You had a great year first. How is it steering the ship? In that seat. How's it been?
It's a million miles an hour still. It's been awesome though. It's been a lot of fun. Having the players that you have or that we have makes all the fun in the world, right? Showing up every day. We have such a great group of kids that value academics, obviously, but value the baseball side of it, the combination of both, and their attitudes are just unbelievable. So, they show up every day. They love to be here. It makes it enjoyable to come to work every day. Obviously, it's not work. It's baseball, so it's awesome. But it's been great, and I give a lot of credit to the players, and the camaraderie and the culture and how they go about it is second to none. And then the assistant coaches are unbelievable. I mean, Matt Floor to Eric Fold to Ryan Kirby. Ryan Kirby was our volunteer assistant. He played in the program here, played in pro ball with the Giants for 3 years. Mm-hmm. The continuity from all of those guys and the players too is through the roof. So it's been awesome, and it's a village. It's not a one man show, Coach. As you know. So it's been a hell of a first year.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, tough one to follow. You're not supposed to set the bar that high this early.
Thank you.
Hey, that jersey over your shoulders there for a reason. For those that might not know, just explain how when Tony gave you your start, one of your key starts at San Diego State. Obviously, the son of a coach, so it's in your blood. And a legendary coach as well. But you honored Tony right up over your shoulder there. He believed in you, put you on a staff early in your career. Kind of introduce us through your eyes to who Tony Gwynn was.
Yeah, I mean, just a huge mentor of mine. I mean, I have him over my shoulder. His quote is always "Do things right, right? Do the right thing." So it's kind of fitting. Like I know that he's always watching over my shoulder, right, making sure I'm doing the right thing. But as a player, being from San Diego, growing up in San Diego, I just to be frank, my back got me to play college baseball and pro baseball. So it was like when Tony took the job at San Diego State, it's like that's where I want to go. I want to go play for him. Idolized him. I want to learn everything I can about hitting. So that was my philosophy. I went into San Diego State as a player, and what I realized was, wow, I learned more about the coaching side of caring about people. Once you got to know him and break down the barrier, it was unbelievable the love that he had for his players. His heart was bigger than anything. It was unbelievable that he would spend the time and he would fight for you as a player. And I always remember that. And then it inspired me, along with others. Obviously, my parents and other coaches I've had, inspired me to get into coaching, because I was like, it's a pretty cool gig. You get to show up to the office and you get to impact 18 to 22-year-olds every day and have a relationship with them and help mold them for something more than baseball, their life, and then you get to do baseball along the way. I think I think it was very special. So then, we had a great bond, a great relationship. And, my first job was at Kearney High School, right down the road from here, as a head coach. And after that year was over, he called me right away and said, "Hey, would you want to be our volunteer?" And I jumped on it. And, it kind of gave me my first opportunity to get into Division I baseball as a coach. And I'll never forget that, for a lot of things that he did for me.
Thank you, Brock. We appreciate you hanging out with Coach and I.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you both for giving us the time in our program. And, it's a lot of respect coming from you guys at Perfect Game. So thank you, Darren. Thanks, Coach Smith.
Good luck this week, the rest of the way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We certainly want to thank Brock and his sports information program for pulling this together. We want to thank Coach Machtolf of Gonzaga, and we want to thank the WCC. We'll see you again next week. We may have Hunter Pence back if he decides to come back from his busyness, but we love having Coach Smith here as well. My name's Darren Sutton. This is Perfect Game, college baseball on Perfect Game TV.